Hello everybody and welcome to a Starcraft 2 replay featuring Failjhm and as Protoss in the top right corner on Daybreak is King, Terran, and we'll be focusing more on JHM's play to give more of an analysis versus, so that way it'd be easier to up the game. Pylon going down on 9. Personally, I would take, when you're building a 9th probe, have it queued out here and then take it to build the pylon versus taking one of these guys off on the building. Just get your pylon going, because then you're just delaying your pylon by a few seconds, so not too bad. So up here we got barracks down, or supply depot and racks. If you was planning the wall off, it's not a tight wall off. So, and here's the scout with a little bit of drone harassment, or SCV harassment. Will we get it? Will we get it? Zoom in. Dead. Huzzah! Gateway down on 14. Take the gas. Don't shift Q gas. Just have them automatically build the gas. And I'm not really fond of the double gateway. I'd rather have gateway cyber. So, and most of the time I build my next pylon right around this area, or at least right here, so that way they just come back and then I could build my cyber core over here, or extra buildings that I want to high tech from right there. So marine out. Apparently there was a pause somewhere. Another rack's going down. One guy on gas. Well, that's not good. Need at least two more guys on gas to make that running more efficiently. SCV needs to be pulled back. Cyber going down. So, not really using the tabs over here. I don't really need to know when certain things are. It's just kind of, for me, it's kind of intuitive, especially since my main is Protoss and my secondary is Terran. So, reactor tech live going down. Supply. Again, this wall off is not great. So you need depot here to get this a complete wall off. Ooh, it didn't pull back that probe. So, Nexus on 1. It's fine. Final on there. So, it looks like 3-gate robo. Which I would have thrown the robo down first and then the other gateway. Get this going kind of quickly. So, and there's the wall off. Not a great wall off, but because it gives your opponent a chance to kind of move up the ramp before. So if you have guys parked here, they're not going to do any attacking until they get right around this area. So now if they have stalkers on the low ground here and zealots up here, well, you use the stalkers to focus fire the marines. And zealot, a couple 3 marines. Huh. 1 zealot for 2 marines. Even trade there. Not a fan of the forge being right here. I'd rather have the forge placed here. Gateway tech is or warp gate is finished. Need to change those into warp gates. There you go. And then I'd like to see a warping of units. I understand the cannon placement, but it's in a weird, odd spot. Unless you've been dropped in this area before, you'll put cannons in areas you've gotten dropped in. Most of the time, drops will come from around this area to over here. So most likely, next place is put an observer here. Expansion going down. 1 more cannon. That's good. +1 on the way. I'd like to see Immortals come out of here. Because now you're eyeing Marine Marauder Ball with a +1. And this is a pretty much Marine Marauder timing attack. So, okay, so combat shields and just no stems. So it's basically probably around the 10-minute mark is where you're going to see them push out for the first attack. Again, I'd like to see a couple more warpings of units. Oh, okay, they're all been used. There's the first immortal. Your immortal should have went out after your first observer to kind of give you that immortal production that you need. So, and here comes the ball. So get really late on this attack. You're giving in general, you're giving the Protoss time to actually build up an army. Come on, Immortal. 1 more Immortal. Ha! He's actually pinging me for this. So, and so what we see is, pretty good force. 5 Marauders. I think 21 Marines or something like that. 16, yeah, 21 Marines. And they're kind of sitting there. Not sure why. There's yeah. Well, once you see that kind of force, I chalk down a robotics facility, or not facility, bay. And start pumping out Colossi. Take these gas geysers up here. If they're not moving, go ahead and try to macro up as best you can by taking the gas geysers. But keep constant warping of units. I'm not fond of this gateway being right here. You're also blocking the amount of time it takes for your Immortals to get there and your Colossus. So I'm not really fond of that. Look at this. Whoa, that's okay. Alright, so this is gonna be STEM isn't researched yet. Orbitals are just been made. Orbital has about 100 energy. It's getting close to it. So not really dropping the mules. 4 total on gas. See how you're doing. Pretty good saturation, 16. It's a good number. Keep warping in units. You're seeing the ball, and you're seeing the ball now move. Now, the weird thing about this map is that a small portion of that ball, so 1/4 of that ball, went one way, and 1/4 went and 3/4 went the other way. And they're not gonna take down these rocks. Most likely they won't. So yep. So it's 1-1 versus 1-1. Oh, they are taking down the rocks. Oh, that should have went down a lot earlier. And force fields. One more force field. Come on, cut off the army. Cut off the rest of the army. Force field right there. Oh, wrong spot for the force field. Warping of units. You need to see a warping of units. Oh, too late. Now you basically need zealots at this moment to be able to tank most of this. Your immortal should have been focus firing the marauder, while your stalkers focus fire the marines. Need to see a bunch of zealots coming warping in. There you go. Colossus out. Go ahead and sack that Nexus, because that's the only option. At this point is sack that Nexus. Before this dies, you got 100 energy on it. I'd start using that energy. Start pumping out more units. Here comes the next stream of units. I get a sentry out if anything else. 1 sentry. Don't do that. No. Don't attack. Let them come to you. Once you have the Colossus and the ramp. Oh. Sentry right here could have blocked them all off. Gave you enough time to do an attack. No, don't micro the Colossus. Don't micro, because it's not firing. You need it to fire. Oh boy. Here comes the next push. There's no base down here. It was basically a massive 1 base play. So, if we go back, let's go back. So this push doesn't even come for the first 14 minutes, and you have vision of this, which is okay. So we'll go back. We'll watch this from here. Okay. You needed to have your other Nexus at least queued, or at least part of your hotkeys.
Upgrade complete.
So that way you.
I'm here.
You had 3 sentries and you didn't throw on enough force fields. And a guardian shield would help too. So you did a +1. You know, no stem timing attack. Made sure you had a big ball of units. I would sack that Nexus. Why are you zooming in? That's just the craziest. And so, I would sack the Nexus. Just let it go. Let it die. Use that energy to put it into your gateways and your robotics. And I'd start making a few sentries here and there to kind of get this ramp blocked off. I mean, it's good that you're trying to thwart this attack, but you're sending in your units in to die, and they're not. So your army's not really cost effective. had you had a sentry, instead of having the 3 zealots go down, build the sentry, let half the army come up. They don't have stem. You can click on it. You see this thing not, and you see it not highlighted at all. They haven't researched stem. So you could basically just sit here and force field this ramp, have your Colossus sit there, start taking them out, force field again, taking them out. You actually should have had Colossus out way ahead of time. And you know, you did have, you know, you put you put money into 3 observers, which is, you know, that's fine. But you know, that tied up a lot of your protection from there. You should have 1 observer come out first, and then start pumping out immortals. Or if you don't see enough marauders, don't pump out too many immortals. Get like 3 immortals, or at least 2 to 3 immortals. Try to throw this down. You took your expansion. That's nice. Should have, you know, you took your expansion. So you know that was good. What needed to happen is that once you take that expansion, you should have thrown this down instantly. So that way you have Colossus tech on the way. He didn't attack for 15 minutes, which should have given you enough time to at least get 2 or 3 Colossi out. What you should have done is you should have taken this observer and park it inside his base, or at least kind of have more of a scout of his base, because once your first observer should do all the scouting that you need to. If you see that he has thrown a starport down somewhere in his base, just throwing a starport, then build a second observer out here. I would skip cannon. I would skip the cannon here because that was under 50 wasted. That didn't do much. It was fine that you had cannons here. This cannon is fine here because you want to make, yeah, gives you kind of a heads up when an army's coming this way. So that's fine there. But you needed to have a scout of his base. If all you see is racks, stop building observers. Start you know, once you see a racks, all racks, nothing else being built. If you just park your observer kind of right here, you know, in a spot to where you could see all his base, then you should be fine. Then you should know exactly what's being built, what's coming toward you, and all. And so basically, you just kind of let yourself die by not being able to. You had 3 sentries, 1, 2, 3 force fields, because it could have cut off this entire ramp, or at least a good chunk of it, to where they're funneling up the ramp. And you know, you chalk it right around this area right here. So you had 3 force fields. You had force fields ready, 3 sentries for force fields, 1 sentry for guardian shield, because most of those you had were, you know, full of energy. So you know, bad timing on the force fields. I think a lot of it is that you had all your army kind of clumped up right here, and you should have selected half your army and moved it over here. So you got half your army here, half your army here. So that way, once they get up the ramp, or once they start moving up the ramp, you know, you have the concave. That's why he took these rocks down, was to have that ability to be able to fire from this whole area. But once you start force fielding this ramp, then they have that. Then they lose that ability to fire up that area. So let's play from here. Okay, now you see their attacks coming. So let's take a look at the gateways. These gateways should be building. This cannon should not have been built. If you notice the army is moving out and they're moving towards you, and you know they're gonna come at you from the front, you're never really gonna see, or at least in most times when I was playing in, you know, bronze, I never really see a backdoor attack, because most of the time they want to just come through the front and try to mow you down as quickly as possible. And so, you know, this could have been, you didn't have to have this. You did have an observer parked here. They didn't move this way. The army stayed clumped together over here. So, and since the army was taking out these rocks, they automatically were getting that concave And since you are kind of clumped up here, so see this nice little concave? So that as they push up, you know, one chunk of this army is going up, one chunk of this army is going up, and all of a sudden you got this big ball of units right here, and you can't concave because, you know, now all your units are going to be moving back and forth, trying to get it into position to fire. Your sentries should have just been used, you know, should have thrown down the force field. You've got full energy, core, 3/4 energy, 3/4 energy on these sentries. That should have been enough force fields to even keep your entire unit alive. On top of that, guardian shield. One guardian shield, bunch of force fields, should have cut off this entire army from going up this ramp. That would have saved you a lot. On top of that, if you move these units up to here, take these units, move them slightly here, and the rest of these guys kind of sit here, because your cannons will tank a lot of everything. See how late this is? That's coming up when this attack's happening. You notice that there was no attack between, you know, you're looking at benchmarks of 7, at least 6 to 7, not 8 to 10, and then so on and so forth. So you're kind of looking at like 2 or 3 minute gap times when these attacks are supposed to be happening. If for any reason you don't see between the 6 to 7 marks, you don't see an attack, keep teching. Keep moving up in the attack, get your army, keep building an army. If you have an observer parked out watching the entire thing going on, that'll give you that'll just give you an instant queue of everything else. So, and then that way this should have went down as soon as you built your first immortal. This should have went down. If you're not seeing them push out, at least by the 10-minute mark, then start rushing Colossus. Just start chrono boosting out of the robotics. Just keep going chrono boost. This should have been part of your hotkeys. This should have been part of your hotkeys. I like the fact that you're doing constant production, so that's good. But you know, you just a couple of things here and there. You know, for me personally, I would not put this gateway here just because it takes it takes an additional like 2 seconds to at least get around this instead of just like 1 second to get through here kind of quickly, because now they gotta go by this gateway. So you want to clump up your buildings, gateways next to gateways, because that way you can kind of chrono boost all at once. Robos next to robos, chrono boost. Stargates next to stargates, same deal. Robotics bay, you want to. So like this cannon here is good. I would have preferred it right here, or right here, or right here. But either way, it's good because. So right here would have been good. But the thing is that I don't think you have any vision of his base. That's all you have seen. You know there's 3 racks. You park your observer right here to look for an expansion. If you're not seeing the expansion go down by the 9-minute mark, or at least somewhere within that time frame, move the observer back up into the base. If all you keep seeing and then all you see is racks, you know, all bio units. If you had Colossus out, even if they didn't have range, if you had Colossus out, this entire army would have died. Because all you have to do is just kind of keep force fielding this ramp, and then all they do is funnel up, and you know all they're doing is getting shot by Colossus. So Colossus should have been out a lot sooner. I think this was reactionary. You saw the ball beforehand, and then you threw it, and it takes so long to build this thing. Well, not too long. 65 seconds isn't bad, but it's halfway finished, and this attack's already happening. So if the force fields didn't work, If you force field this ramp, you probably would have had a chance to at least take out half this army, be able to save a good chunk of your army. I would have pulled them back after you force field it, and you see that you can't, and all your units are still dying. I'd start pulling them back up to the ramp. Get your sentry, and then start warping in some sentries, and then start force fielding this ramp. Sack this base. Just sack it. You know, it's not. Once that army's coming up, I would, you know, sack this, because they're automatically just going to try to take this out. Move your probes back up into here. That's all you can really do for now. Save the probes, move them back up to there, sack that base, and then start force fielding this ramp as they start to come up. That way your Colossus will be out beforehand. So you know so you can actually have some Colossi, you know, for this ball. And you know then you still have stalkers, sentries, some zealots, some immortals, and you'd be okay. And then you could push out once that's going on. But I think the big thing is that you were expecting drops and they never happened. And a big part of that is that you didn't scout his base, and he had no starports. None at all. No factory, no starports. So you're not noticing anything else. So you're not. If all you're seeing is just bio, you need to make sure and see if they're still kind of moving. See if there's hidden tech inside his base, and if there's no tech in his base. This should have been thrown down once you realize over here. Because let's see, when did you built your robo? Okay. So your robo's down. And here comes the first ball of units. So we're gonna go to 1. You see that ball of units.
I am here in the shadows.
Another good warband of stalkers. That's good. Whoops. I keep doing that for some reason. Okay. Again, it's the 9-minute mark. There's no attack. There's no reason at all. You could have cut this immortal. Not had that immortal. Throw that in our box facility. And then all of a sudden you have Colossi instead of immortals. Immortals are good against marauders, not against a bunch of marines. Did I just see that right? Okay, this. Now you're 10 at minerals. You should not do this. That's probably the worst thing you can do. Okay. Again, you see this ball. And you're not seeing any other tech coming from this ball. You're not seeing no medevacs coming out, so covering this ball. No tanks, no nothing. Your instinct should be to go up and check in his base. And I don't see any. Because once your first observer is out, you can pretty much use him to scout as long as he's still alive. You can build one more observer to kind of keep eye on the army. You don't need this if you're not seeing any air tech. Don't even build this observer for that one. This pylon, again, you're expecting a drop and it's not there, and it's not coming. And that's the thing, is I know it happens, but if you're expecting the drop and you're not noticing the drop, don't worry about it. Now see, now you're just blocking more. So now you should have now thrown down your robo. Should have thrown down your bait. You're not seeing anything. All you're seeing is Marines and Marauders. I'm assuming that's all you're seeing, since you're looking at your camera. As long as you're looking at the mini-map, because all you see is the unit streaming there. I don't know why you keep zooming in. I noticed you're clicking on them. So, but It's just that you're not. Um, see how long that took you to build that. Their attack is coming, and all of a sudden you're building a robotics bay. That should have been built right after your robo was finished, right after your first immortal, or at least your first observer, to kind of give me an idea. And now you see this army, and you have your units kind of not positioned where they should be. So you balled them up into a corner, and now you're moving them down. And there's one force field, doesn't do much. Your second force field doesn't do much. Guardian Shield probably would have been a better choice by now. So, and then all your units just died.
I am here in the shadows.
Yeah. Against 1-1 Marines and 1-1 Marauders, your army should have been able to take them out pretty easily. So everything's really, really late. Your class tech should have been around the 10-minute mark. I'm not understanding the zoom, because all it's doing is delaying more of your micro and your macro. That, again, you're just sending your units into a slaughter. Again, centuries. Right now, centuries would be your best chance to win. Yeah. And that's when. Oh. And you're trying to micro the class and since it's the only one there, you really can't really kite those Marines that well. You don't have thermal lance to kite them, so. Anyways. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully you got some good information from this to figure out how to kind of protect yourself again. Benchmark timings, because it is lower league, so the benchmarks are going to be different. But so that's why scout. So that's why this guy should be scouting all the time. You could pretty much put him on a patrol. So you have him set patrolling here, 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 and then finish the patrol here. That way he's always flying around, noticing things. Then you can have your other observer kind of sit here and follow the army around. That way you're always noticing the tech. Until they build turrets, and then, you know, that, well, too late. Then, by then it's like, oh, okay, now you gotta really kind of guess. But then by then, you should already have this down. Should have been down a lot sooner. This should have been down around the 10-minute mark. In reality. And then this way, this ball would have died before. After, you know, you had 2 colossi and a couple of good force fields down. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. So hope you enjoyed and have a good day.